He's here, though. He's not absent. So what do I say? That's when I get confused. Okay, it's still not 9:30. All right.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Arapahoe County for this Tuesday, November 15, 2016. To my left is our County Attorney, Ron Carl, and to my far right is Gail Stumple, Assistant Clerk to the Board. Ms. Stumple, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Bockenfeld?
Here.
Commissioner Mullen?
Here.
Here. Commissioner Jackson? Here. Commissioner Doty?
Here. Would you please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda?
There are no modifications to the agenda.
Thank you. May I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So move.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Sharp, seconded by Commissioner Holland to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We have two sets of minutes from previous meetings, and all of the commissioners were present in those meetings. So we can entertain a motion to adopt those, approve those minutes as together. So may I please have a motion to approve those?
I so move.
Second.
Has been moved by Commissioner Holland, seconded by Commissioner Sharp to approve the minutes from October 18th and October 25th, 2016. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now is the time for any citizen wishing to address the board on any issue that is not on the agenda this morning. Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll move along. May I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Has been moved by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Sharp to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. It has been brought to my attention that we have someone here today, Ms. Lynn Myers with the Denver South Economic Development Partnership, who would like to say a few words on behalf of their issue that was approved on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Doty. Lynn Myers with Denver South Economic Development Partnership, and I want to thank you for the approval of the incentive agreement for Charter Communications. Charter is adding almost 800 jobs in Greenwood Village. The average salary is about $95,000, and they will be adding 125 jobs in Douglas County. This will likely be the largest business announcement in this metro area this year. So congratulations to Arapahoe County for always supporting supporting economic development, and you do it through your infrastructure, through your water and your transportation planning and your excellent staff and your management of your budget. It's just an honor to represent all of you. So I wanted to say a special thank you to Mr. Bockenfeld for I got to work with you, and you made it 12 years. That's quite an accomplishment and a legacy, and I think you know where every penny in that dollar is. And Commissioner Doty, I got to work with you when you were the clerk, and thank you for bringing your poise and your thoughtful leadership to the commission, and all of you do a super job. So it's my privilege. I get to work a lot with John Christofferson, so you have a great team in place, and from an economic prosperity and economic development standpoint, your star is shining bright. I just needed to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Myers. Okay. We have one general business item today, which is a public hearing. So we'll switch out attorneys. It is thank you. It is W16-001 Land Development Code Amendment to 12-1900 to add small-scale solar facilities. Mr. Hill, would you please set the foundation for us?
Yes, this is a proposed amendment to the Land Development Code. It has been published in the Villager and the I-70 Scout as required under state statute for this hearing, and the board has jurisdiction to hear this matter.
Thank you. I understand our presenter today is Diane Kosis. Would you please go ahead? Thank you.
Good morning. So, as Bob said, this case was properly noticed. It also went before the planning commissioners on October 18th, and they approved this going to go forward. This was a county-initiated project to be able to process small-scale solar facilities administratively. And so we developed a solar MOU that's very similar to the oil and gas MOU. It's just shorter, basically. And we actually came before you in a study session last June with the idea, and you encouraged us to go forward with creating this administrative process. So currently in the county, when we get a USR for a small-scale solar facility, it takes staff between about 5 and 8 months to process these applications, largely because it has to go through 2 hearings, one with the Planning Commission and one with you, and the preparation of staff reports. And we did find out that other jurisdictions process these applications much faster than we do, ranging, the ones that do it faster than us range from 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks up to about 3 months, still significantly shorter than what we do. So I want to emphasize that the funding for solar facilities is very dependent on a predictable and relatively short review time for their applications, and the county could potentially require some increased buffering and in the way of aesthetics for these facilities. As I mentioned, our county review process currently takes much longer, but I forgot to mention that we estimated about $15,000 in staff time. This would be shortened and lessened dramatically by an administrative process. If we did the administrative process, we could get this completed in 5 to 6 weeks with the same level of scrutiny, and but without the 2 public hearings. And the Public Works Director would still retain the option of pushing any of these applications up to a full USR if there were any applications that had heightened impacts. And so the solar MOU this is the same process for small-scale solar facilities as it is for oil and gas. So it would level the playing field for these renewable energy projects. It generally conforms with comp plan goals to support programs to reduce energy consumption, and it's consistent with the Align Arapahoe goals of service first and fiscal responsibility. So we recommend approval. planning staff is in favor of this. The Planning Commission approved it on October 18th. The oil and gas facilities section of the Land Development Code, Chapter 12, Section 1900, would be changed from oil and gas facilities to energy facilities so that both oil and gas and energy facilities would fit into that chapter. And this would, as far as solar goes, this would only cover small-scale solar facilities that are less than 20 acres, and their capacity is limited to 2 or lesser megawatts. And as I said before, it's the same level of scrutiny that we would be using for processing these applications administratively. And if you have questions for the industry, we have a solar representative here also. Do you have any questions?
Commissioner Sharp?
I know that one of our Planning Commission members had some concerns about the ability for the public to comment. Can you talk about, and I know that our Public Works Director can, if there are concerns, can request further, it can come to the or go to the Planning Commission or to the board. But can you talk about how the public would be notified of these facilities so that they could have, if we would know if there are any concerns before they were approved?
Right. Jason, you have to refresh my memory. We had a very late meeting last night. Don't we have a provision for signage in the new section? Yeah. So previously, Conoco has erected signs near their projects that have to be up for 14 days. But that was a gentleman's agreement with Conoco. We didn't have it in our code. And with this amendment to the Land Development Code, we would require the operators, solar operators or oil and gas operators, to post a sign near the project for 14 days.
Okay. Great. Thank you. I just want to make sure that people are aware and that if they had concerns, they could make comments. Thank you.
Our attorney, Mr. Hill, would like to make a comment.
I was just going to point out in the new provision, and this is carried over from the oil and gas, but there is written notification by U.S. mail to owners of parcels adjacent to the parcel in which the facility is going to be placed. A notice of application shall meet the format prescribed by the county and shall be mailed at no more than 30 days before the time of filing the application with the county.
Thank you.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes, I'm just a general comment. I think it's great that we're encouraging alternative energy. Do you feel, and does the staff feel that, as well as your relationships with the industry, that this will help enhance more solar development in the county?
Yes, I do, and John can speak to that also. They have several projects in their what they call their pipeline, ready to present to the county. And this would really help them because they could set their funding up more expeditiously. Some of their funding really needs them to have approved permits before they can proceed with that funding. Could you speak to that further?
Good morning. Would you please state your name and address for the record?
John Sullivan from Sunshare, 1441 18th Street, Denver, Colorado, 80202. So yeah, everything Diane said, we agree with. Just want to add a few points. So as far as the financing that she's talking about, when someone, a solar developer gets an award from Xcel or permission to interconnect to the grid, we get an 18-month timeline. And so we start off with all the environmental studies, interconnect studies, a lot of due diligence. That gives us enough information to be able to submit a permit package. And let's say it takes us 1 or 2 months to procure all that stuff, and then a 6-month process is then initiated. We usually can't seek financing until we actually are holding that USR permit. So the financiers come in and they say, wow, great, you have a project ready to go, but now you only have 9 months left or 8 months left to actually build it. This is looking a little risky. And they start to get nervous about releasing money for construction. So one of the reasons is just to speed up the permitting timeline to give us a longer runway for that financing and construction step. Another origin of this is just I've done a few projects now in front of Arapahoe County and then dozens of others across the state. And during the public hearing processes, I've never gotten a negative comment. Usually it's just no comments, just no one has anything to say about solar. Once in a while, someone comes up from the audience that's here for a different agenda item, and they just feel the need to say something about solar, and it's usually never heard about this project, but excited that it's happening, go solar. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks for coming up. But anyway, it's just why do we go through this lengthy public hearing process when it's pretty low impact technology and we haven't got comments to the negative. So as long as we're within a certain criteria, 2 megawatts or smaller, below a certain height, use the same spec of fence, the same kind of solar modules, why not just streamline that permitting process for developers and for Arapahoe County alike. As far as our pipeline goes, we have 2 or 3 projects planned for the 2017 development cycle. CEC's here, they're our competitor. They have 2 projects being planned, it sounds like. And then, not a big fan of this, but we have quite a few competitors coming to town. And it sounds like they're planning quite a few projects as well. So I don't know, altogether, maybe that's 10 projects in 2017. But it would be good now to take the time to streamline the process before they all start culminating. So any questions for
Commissioner Jackson?
I'm not sure whether this is for you or for Diane, but I'll ask it. On the referral comments, Excel is behind it, but IREA says may require review by the jurisdictional electric utility if the project is to be interconnected with such utility system. Could you translate that for me?
I can.
I can finish mine. When I read that, I thought they want to be sure to be included in the referral process. They want a copy of the plans when this goes out for referral. Did you see anything else in that?
Yeah, I wonder if they just mean they want to be acknowledged from an electrical feasibility standpoint, that whatever project land parcel we're proposing, that they've actually done their feasibility studies to make sure it works with the grid at that location, which is part of our standard due diligence. But once in a while, solar developers, wind developers, they'll try and lock a bunch of land on speculation that eventually the grid will support it. And so maybe that's what IREA is talking about. They want to be involved early on.
Okay, and do we have something in place to ensure that that connection, so to speak, will be made with IREA?
The criteria that we have to submit, all the USR 1041 regulations, we still have to meet or talk about all the different talking points within the USR process, and one of those is what does the utility say about the project? Do you have utility approval? So we've just usually submitted proof that the utility has given us permission or an award to actually do the project. And, so
that's part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
Good, thank you.
I was excited to hear that there's others that are interested in coming to Arapahoe County. I think competition is always good. Keeps everyone alert. Any other questions for them? Okay, thank you very much. I will now open the public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to address the board issue, please come forward. I do have one person that has indicated they'd like to say a few words. Jonathan Fitzpatrick, would you like to say a few words? And again, would you please state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Jonathan Fitzpatrick, 361 Centennial Parkway, Louisville, Colorado, 80027. On behalf of the industry, I did want to thank you guys for considering this. I think this is going to make Arapahoe County more competitive with several of your neighboring counties. From the perspective of a solar developer, one of the things that I evaluate pretty closely is the path to permit and how long it's going to take me to get a project permitted administratively. And as John mentioned earlier, when we talk about financing, the need to have permits in place for financing, it is very valuable for us to get a project approved by the jurisdiction having authority before we get that project financed. That helps us get it built more quickly, as John alluded to. And so I think that we're going to look more favorably here in Arapahoe County when in the past we may have favored counties that had shorter approval times.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Further discussion. Commissioner Bockenfield.
Madam Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'll make a motion in case of W16001, Land Development Code Amendment, Chapter 12, Specific Regulations, Modifications of Section 12-1900, Oil and Gas Facilities, to rename the section to Energy Facilities and to incorporate new regulations for small-scale solar facilities. The Board of County Commissioners has read the proposed code amendment and the board summary report and has considered additional information presented during the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with staff findings 1 through 4 set forth in the board summary report dated October 26, 2016, and with the code amendment to establish an administrative use by review process as proposed, and hereby approve the amendment 212-1900 with the following two conditions of approval. Number one, minor modifications to the text identified as necessary are required prior to incorporation of this amendment into the existing land development code. Staff, in conjunction with the County Attorney's Office, is hereby authorized to make necessary modifications to the text and may relocate definitions in Chapter 19. Item number 2, modifications to the Section 12-1900 of the Land Development Code will be effective and integrated into the existing code upon approval by the Board of County Commissioners, and I would ask for a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Bockenfield, second by Commissioner Jackson, to approve W16-001 Land Development Code Amendment to 12-1900 to add small-scale solar facilities. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Now is the time for any commissioner wishing to address the audience here with any comment. Please do so. Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned.